The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
Welcome back to Old Space Show. I'm Brandon, and this is my companion, Steven.
Hi there.
Hello. This series of Old Space Show follows the intergalactic swashbuckling escape antics of Raj Blake and his ruffian crew in the first season of Blake's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... Today we are discussing the 9th episode, Project Avalon.
In this episode, Travis engineers another deadly plan to destroy Blake and capture the Liberator. Even Servalan believes that it cannot fail, and when Blake carries out a rescue, he wonders why it's been allowed to succeed.
This one's directed again by Michael E. Bryant, written by Terror Blessed Nation. Cast is Gareth Thomas, Sally Nivette, Paul Darrow, Jan Chappell, Michael Keaton, David Jackson, Peter Tuddenham, Stephen Grief, Jacqueline Pierce returns, Julia Vidler, David Bailey, another Robots of Death alum, Glynis Barber, and John Rolfe. And Steven, let's roll call those Whoers.
All right, well, David Bailey had just been in the previously directed, I think this is probably Michael E. Bryant's first job since doing The Robots of Death, which he directed like about 5 or 6 months prior to this, so David Bailey was in that. John Rolfe, I believe, was in 3 different Doctor Who stories, including The Green Death, directed by Michael E. Bryant, and also featuring almost as a cast member. Speaking of Michael E. Bryant, he directed Revenge of the Cybermen, which featured location shooting in Wookiee Hole, and that's also features in this episode too. So a lot of Michael E. Bryant favorites, I think, are in this episode.
Gotcha. Glynis becomes a series regular.
Not as the mutoid that
not
she plays
as the mutoid,
here, must be pointed out,
but she'll play a character named Sulin in, I believe, the final season of Blake's 7. So that's down the road. So this episode, I thought, first thought with this one right here, I'm looking for my note because I'm a bad host right here, that I called it... hey, did y'all see Star Wars last weekend?
It's funny you mentioned that, Brandon, because this is literally the first episode that was conceived and made after Star Wars had premiered in the UK. In this episode, our intrepid heroes have to infiltrate the enemy base to rescue a female prisoner and have a suspiciously easy escape back to their home base. Lots of gunfights in corridors.
The Federation leadership personnel entrusts the black-dressed, masked guy's plan of said thing.
Yep, she's all in white, oddly enough, and everyone else is in black. Flip it from what Star Wars is. Yeah, isn't it fascinating? I mean, one of my most fascinating things to look at is, I mean, a friend of mine, Kyle Anderson, who I host Memory Cheats with, is much more of a film buff than I am, and has basically a wing in the museum of his mind for movies, science fiction movies made from about 1978 to 1980, because there are so many low budget ripoffs and homages and everything to Star Wars, which is of course the new shiny at the time. And Blake 7 doesn't 100% go the whole way, but this one, clearly there is some recency bias, and they are saying, let's make a Star War, because this is action-packed. You know what? I think it's good.
I like it. It's good. It's good. And they actually, it's funny enough, they accidentally walk into more Star Wars by having the snow planet already.
They do. They have the snow planet, so they actually
2 years prior.
Yeah, it's
2 years
amazing.
before.
You know, there's like the gunfights in the corridor for
cool stuff.
For a multi-camera, you're basically shooting that thing live, like cutting between cameras and stuff. And I think it was really well directed for what it is at the time.
Nope,
with
it's good.
Guns blasting, little squibs going off here and there, and that's it's not in the film studio. We talked a couple of weeks ago about how they had that weird corridor scene in Mission to Destiny when nothing really happened to warrant it being on film. They shot pretty much this entire thing on videotape, apart from the scenes in Wookiee Hole, of course, and it looks really good. Credit to Michael E. Bryant for putting together a cheap ripoff of Star Wars in many ways, but sort of making it work in the scope of the show.
Yeah. So they make it work. It's pretty. It's fun. It's exciting. It's got, because it knows what it's confident in what it's doing, because they're like, it worked for Star Wars, so
yeah,
they're a little bit more confident. And I also, I want to mention real quick, since it's a snowy planet, guess what we get, Stephen? We get winter science fiction outfits for me. And
you love those.
It's even colder, so they get colder outfits. Even Travis gets one. And I'm like, oh, he looks even more imposing now. But yeah, it's this thing. It has. They've been doing really good with prologues, I think, in the last couple episodes, where they really kind of set something up, introduces in the team, and there's a little bit of mystery as to what's going on. We have a rescue mission, good sets. We're inside a cave. Feels like inside of a cave. There's. I have a lot of compliments, I guess, but I don't want to sound like a rambly mess. But going through, there's this guy that turns on the
sells
group
them
of
out.
Avalon.
Yeah. At the very, I like that we see him sell out Avalon before we even see who is being sold out. We are, that the twist is already out there, that somebody's been a traitor and everything, because we see that it's been prearranged with Travis, which I like, because you kind of would sort of believe, but which means it disguises what the actual twist is that Avalon is a clone. It's a weird clone that they actually brought her back with the strange little ping pong ball of fuzz, which is a simple and entertaining effect. It's probably the ball itself was probably just blue, and they just sort of like CSO.
It's the CSO ball. That's what I kept calling it. Yeah,
pattern on it, which worked. It worked. I don't care. I like that.
The whole. I have to wonder if they saw the same weekend they saw Star Wars, if they saw Invasion of the Body Snatchers with Donald Sutherland. Because it's very similar to. Have you seen that one, Stephen?
No, I mean I know the famous scene of Sutherland pointing, obviously, but
is it on your list to see at any point or anything like that? Or
you know what? Go for it. It's all right. I'm sure. Right. Yeah.
For a movie that's 44 years old, 54. So there's a point, and this happens in Halloween 3: Season of the Witch, which is an Invasion of the Body Snatchers ripoff as well, where the lead character gets so drawn into the adventure of rescuing a female lead of the film that gets kidnapped or something, that they don't pay attention to anything bringing them back, and realize they have brought back. Well, in Halloween 3, it's a robot. In Invasion of the Body Snatchers, it's one of the Body Snatchers cloned as her, and they don't realize it till they've gotten away from the escape through all that thrill, and they're like, okay, what's going on? Like, oh crap, that was the plan. I got foiled. I'm doomed. And that's what happens here. So I'm like, oh, it's Star Wars with a hint of Body Snatchers, I guess, if that's where it came from. But it was oddly reminding me of that when I saw that. I'm like, oh, you took a turn.
It may well have been in the zeitgeist at the time when they were writing and making this. It's tough to ignore such things when you are making television or anything when some massive event occurs, which is what Star Wars was. Let's face it, back then. It's fascinating. I mean, Star Wars only premiered in the UK in December of 1960. 7 months after it hit in North America, just to give you an indication of how, we talk about Doctor Who having a day and date release finally in like the 2010s. Well, they didn't even release movies until 7 months after the fact in the UK, which I find utterly fascinating.
And sometimes in the North America alone, it took a while for you to get. I mean, if you didn't live in New York and LA, San Francisco, you might have been months down the road before that film reel.
That's true.
Got to your town. Or it might not even played at all. Like I questioned was it season 3 of Stranger Things when they had like Dawn of the Dead playing in the mall. I'm like, did that play in Indiana?
That would have to come to small town Indiana.
I did have it confirmed. It did play in my friend Troy confirmed it played in Terre Haute, Indiana. So I'm like, okay, that's Hawkins-esque. So all right.
Right.
It did play because that movie did not get that wide of a release. But yeah, so I always wondered that, but yeah, the film, things used to, not everything got released. It wasn't until like Batman that we started getting regular, like, okay, everybody gets the big release this weekend,
right?
But yeah, so back then it traveled, so yeah, they had to wait but they didn't have they probably had plenty of sci-fi magazines and maybe some TV things telling them, but they didn't have Twitter every day going, oh my gosh, Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars. And in positive ways.
Exactly. They were so happy about it stuff. Yeah.
And there was only one thing. So you just waited for the one thing. But yeah, so yeah, the impact, and I am a fan of Star Wars exploitation myself. I enjoy like a Star Crash crawl, like those. Like I'm always I don't know why, and it's good fantasy. It's nice. I've always said too that one of my fascinations, like Star Wars exploitation with like I have with the slasher film, is I always like seeing people's minds at work. Whereas typically Halloween is the one that they're ripping off, or that's the one that started all. And what did someone take from that movie and think was that the most important thing, and therefore they made a part of their movie? Right. And I'm always fascinated, and I always like seeing, because you could see real talent come in making those knockoff movies and stuff like that. But I always love saying, this guy thinks it's the score for Halloween. Oh, this guy thinks it's this character, or this guy thinks it's the wearing a mask or something. It's funny that nobody gets everything. They take certain aspects that they saw that movie, said that's what was important about it, and then they made their own knockoff. And it's just, I don't know. It's a fascination with me. Stephen, you and I are fans of we're both have weird fascinations with things. So.
Yeah, but yours is that. Mine's production of 1970s TV shows.
Yes.
I mean, when I watched Star Wars, the opening scene was obviously amazing, but then the gun battle in the corridor, in this white corridor, really stuck out for me as a kid. And seeing the gun battle in this corridor, because it's basically a white corridor, and there's Jenna shooting down one end, and then David Bailey's character shooting down the other end. There's guys falling all over the place. Like I still think it's cool.
Right.
Had I seen this like at the same time that I saw Star Wars, I mean, I would have been all over this, all over it. This was entertaining. I really dug this episode.
It's a cave. It's not the Tantive 4, but
yeah.
Travis enters like Darth Vader coming on that ship.
Right? And then Servalan swans in and just like, I love how she just like drops her gown on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
Because she knows that someone's going to pick it up, because if someone doesn't pick it up, then there will be hell to pay.
They will be dead.
Which I just, exactly, which I quite like. I like the scene where the Muto comes in and reports to Travis, and Travis sort of goes, to the left, please, just a little bit to the left. I'm watching this thing. I love that little bit. There's lots of great little moments in this one like that, and the gun battles, and it's a great story.
David, I love speaking of Travis, there was a part the beginning where he looked in the camera and he goes, "This time I'll be ready for you, Blake." I was like, "Oh, we're going here now." Okay.
Yeah, all right. Whatever. I mean, to be fair, at the end of it, the plot sort of has the clone of Avalon, who is this great resistance leader. Is obviously a clone and has this magic ball of death, which can basically give someone a horrific skin disease.
It's like a fungus thing.
Within 23 seconds, and then it vanishes. And Servalan is very cruel, I thought, to Travis at the end of it. It very nearly worked. It got so close to killing Blake.
Yeah.
Back on the Liberator, that it wasn't a complete and utter failure. They just, they managed to just basically stumble upon the solution. Speaking of direction, if you allow me, I thought the scene
allow it.
On the in the transporter room there, for lack of the teleport room, where they have to wrestle Avalon and grab her, and she's like super strong, and she even swats Gan around and everything. Like, the fact that they shot that, from what I could tell, with basically 2 handheld cameras, and I think it was one take. I mean, it
was one take. Yeah,
handheld cameras in those days in 1978 were not easy things to lug around. They were massive things, and so for that scene to come off as it did, along with the other scenes, they had an
angle looking down, so you had to hold that thing up too,
right?
Like,
I know
it was not like a low or eye line level. It was like pointed. Yeah.
I mean, that's a thing that you would do on a film set. There were so many excuses for them to shoot bits on film for purposes of action, and they never did, and they succeeded, I think, because of it. I think it's a really, watch this episode again, people, if you ever focus on the direction, and just remember how difficult it is to shoot such things on videotape and switching between cameras, and then with massive cameras doubling as handheld cameras for that one fight scene. It's impressive work.
It's very. This is probably the most impressive episode altogether.
I think so. We even have the robot. We have the robot from Seek, Locate, Destroy, and he shoots fire now. And it's like everything's coming out.
We got multiple mutoids. We don't just stop at one. We have they try to make us believe there's 16, but I think there's 4 filmed a couple times.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get that, and they eviscerate people.
There's a big shootout in Wookiee Hole. Yep, that's there too.
But yeah, it's cleverly written too. I like lines like before they go to the planet. Does it support any intelligent life? Does the Liberator? Of course, it's Avon.
There's always a good line from Avon. It's great.
Servalan has one. Is in my position, one never approves anything until it is an undisputed success. Villa, I'm tired of being indispensable. Yeah, just so much stuff. There's also, I noticed in Blake 7, one of the cutest things I adore about it is when they go down to planets, they carry their little cooler that
that's right.
Doesn't have drinks in it. It doesn't have drinks in it or anything. It's got quote unquote supplies.
I think it's isn't it usually the teleport bracelets that they go in this little
or I gotta hack, or I gotta hack a keypad type thing. Yeah. But I think that's usually a Sally Nivette, Jenna's job is to carry that cooler when she's I usually see her running with it.
Right.
A couple episodes now, but that's kind of funny. But yeah, there's just so much going on in this episode. It moves too. That's one thing.
It does.
And there's a lot of different sets, a lot of cuts, a lot of good choppy dialogue scenes and stuff. It's and it's Star Wars. So I mean,
it's essentially Star Wars on a BBC budget, and they surprisingly get away with it.
Yeah, it works. And then I like the the ending we were talking about where Blake has the gusto to go back and face them.
Yeah.
With the robot.
To actually go there. Yeah, I know.
To go and be like, I'm going to leave here with her.
Yeah.
Right now. And you're not going to do it. You're going to have to let me go. And it's just it works. It's crazy. And you see Servalan is like, all right, look, as crazy as I am for this Travis guy, I'm not dying by him. Nope.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not much to talk about on the for the stayed back on the Liberator crew this week. I don't think they don't cut to them too much. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why this episode's a bit stronger.
Because they don't have they sort of. I mean, I suppose once Avalon gets back on the ship, then she has to beat up Gan and Villa a little bit. But it's nice to see Jenna down there shooting people and everything. Because
bad aim. She is. I wrote Blake snaps a neck during the rescue. Jenna has bad aim.
Yep. Yeah, there's a couple neck breaks in this. It's like, wow, that's grim. That's grim. You forget, even though it looks like Doctor Who and sounds like Doctor Who, it's a much more adult show.
Oh yeah, it's a season 22 Doctor Who. It's where it's trying to be.
Definitely that. Yeah.
I did both teleporter effects were put into use this week. The outline and the wavies. So
that's right. It was too. Yeah.
I saw both of them. I can't tell. I'm like, is it outline when they hit the planet and wavy when they're in the actual transporter thing, or is it just whoever's doing the video effects at the end?
Yeah, I think it's wavy when you're on the ship. You're right, and then it's just the outline when you're back on the planet. Because oftentimes when they beam down on the planet, it's on film and the effect is on video, and doing a wavy video on top of that would be tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's something I take interest in every time. I'm like, well, how do they transport now? It's been a lot of wavies. Yeah. And I thought that was what they settled on, but then the outline came back. I was like, oh, okay. Because actually, I like the outline. It's like different than anything else. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that a little more closely now. The differing Liberator transporter effects.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. And of course, Steven's line at the end of every episode of Old Space Show here is said in this episode.
I know. I actually forgot what episode this is from. I thought it might have been from Duel, and then when it happens here, I was thinking, "Oh, this is it." And I forgot how pathetic of a situation Travis is in when he says this line, because he's lying on the floor, having just been defeated and embarrassed, and is holding that little magic ball of death, and he's just sort of like whimpering. He almost says it whimpering, which poor Travis has really been kicked down a hill the past 2 episodes, and it's starting to affect him, I think.
Yeah, for sure. He's going to want to impress more. And Servalan retreats launch the pursuit ships. It's like all they have. What pursuit ships, what do they do? Oh, they pursue. Oh.
Yeah, that's a good ending. I like that. Because, just like it's not a cliffhanger, but it's like, we're still coming after you, and the chase continues. And I thought that was a very effective ending. I quite like that ending.
I thought, this all excellent episode. Like, if you want to hook someone on Blake 7 right here, it's like, wow, okay. Yeah. You could go like seek, locate, destroy, and then to this and be like, okay, here you go.
Yep.
Blake 7.
And if you just wanted to get the sort of the greatest hits, the bare bones of what's going on in this show, it would be you'd be hard pressed to find a better 2 episodes in episode 6 and episode 9.
Mm-hmm. And then you'd be like, what's this Gan guy? He's like, you won't have to worry much longer. It's okay.
Just don't worry about him. Don't worry about that guy.
It's okay. But is this number 1 so far in our quest?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I really like Seek, Locate, Destroy, but this one, this one tops it. This is a really good one.
Yeah, and my tops are definitely the ones with Travis and or Servalan in them. So they make a difference, and we still haven't got a lot of Servalan. She will grace it a lot later on, but so far they're just. I mean, even when she's in an episode, it's not heavy. But this was heavier.
Yeah. But
and I liked the her and Travis dynamic was nice. Vader Tarkin, but it worked. Rip off. Like Scott Mendelson and I are notorious for our phrase of rip off, don't remake, and it always goes better because. They may, Fast and the Furious was a rip-off of Point Break. How many Fast and Furious movies do you have now? Going on, 11 and spin-offs? Point Break got remade. How many sequels does that have? None. Those remakes never just rip it off, and then you find your own path through the rip-off,
Yeah.
That's how it works.
That's how all of art
Yeah,
works,
Star Wars
you know?
was a rip-off, don't remake situation. It
Exactly.
Was, he couldn't make Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
that was it. I mean, that's how it works. So, but yeah. So okay. Well, Stephen, set our course again for Earth. But before we give it to the Federation, share people your information.
I am on the Twitters at Legopolis, and also I do 3 Doctor Who podcasts called Rita Friscaro, Lazy Doctor Who, and returning in 2023, The Memory Cheats.
All right, and I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon4KUHD, written work at WhySoBlue.com. There's more from the Brandon Peters Show, maybe this week. I don't know. We are ahead in time beyond my reruns I've been doing on Mondays and stuff. So that's great. But from Old Space...
If it takes all my life, I'm lying down right now on the floor holding a ball.
Oh, CSO ball.
I will destroy you, Blake. I will destroy you. I will destroy you.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.